Good afternoon, everyone. This is Erica Oriens from the Michigan Center for Student Success. Before we get started, I'm wondering if those of you who are looking at your screen can navigate over to where the attendee list is and raise your hand if you can hear me. Oh, good. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Amy. So it's always the worst when you're talking and realize that nobody can hear you. So appreciate that. Thank you for joining us today, especially on this really beautiful day when it seems like we're just finally finishing up with winter here at the end of April. So I appreciate that you're all here today to learn more about your role as a transfer liaison and this really exciting transfer work that we're doing here in Michigan. Again, my name is Erica Oriens. I'm the Executive Director of the Michigan Center for Student Success, which is housed at the Michigan Community College Association. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Katie Girardello, who also is with the association. And Katie will also be providing a lot of support for this work over the next couple of years. So you'll be communicating a lot with Katie throughout this process. There are other folks that are part of our team that's leading this work, including Will Emerson from the Michigan Association of State Universities, Colby Cesaro and Shannon Price from the Michigan Independent Colleges and Universities. And Shannon's on the line with us today, but Colby and Will were unable to be here. So we are trying to march along without them today. But of course, you can always reach out to them with questions, in addition to Katie and Shannon and I, if you have any questions about this work. I'll also mention that this webinar is being recorded because I know everybody was not able to make it today. And so we are recording the webinar, and we will share with you the link to that recording after this webinar. It usually takes us a couple of days to get that processed and up on the web, but we'll be able to share that with you as well. We also want to leave time for people to be able to ask questions today. So if you navigate over to your control panel, towards the bottom or somewhere on your control panel, you should see something that says chat or questions, probably chat. And you can enter your questions in there, and we'll be monitoring that question pane throughout the webinar. We may not answer your question right away just because we may know that we're answering that question later on in the webinar, or we'll interrupt and be able to answer that question. So please enter your questions in the chat pane there. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. Like I said, this is in preparation for the event that we're having on May 18th with our MiTransfer pathways, where we're bringing together faculty and transfer liaisons from almost 50 colleges and universities across the state of Michigan. So we're very excited about this work. This work started with leadership from over 30 people from Michigan colleges and universities with the vision of advancing student success and degree completion in Michigan, excuse me. And the transfer steering committee that has led a lot of this work over the last couple of years came together to increase associate and bachelor's degree completion among transfer students from all backgrounds through collaboration among colleges and universities and engagement with faculty and higher ed administrators. Their objective is really to make the overall transfer experience more efficient, easy to understand, and simple to navigate while optimizing credit transfer. The Transfer Steering Committee identified 6 strategies that we're focused on to be able to improve transfer student outcomes. And today we're really focused on that second strategy, which is developing the multi-institutional associate to bachelor's degree transfer pathways. But instead of listening to me, I thought it might be better if you viewed a couple of the videos that we've created about this project. And so you should see on your screen a link to a YouTube channel. So on GoToWebinar, it's a little bit hard to do audio and video at the same time. But I'm going to put this link in the chat. And if you can navigate to this site, you can view our project overview video. So I'll go ahead and pause for just a little over a couple minutes so you can review that video. Okay, so I hope you had some time to look through that video. I'm going to give it another about 20 seconds for people to be able to view the video. Okay, good. So we'll go ahead and move on. We're going to show you another video in a second that describes these transfer pathways in a little bit more detail. This video is, kind of what we were calling the case-making video. We wanted to give people an overview of this work that we're doing, talk about what the big picture strategies are, share with folks some data on transfer student outcomes. So we've asked you to bring together the faculty that are joining you at the summit, and this might be a great video to review while you're meeting with those faculty. So certainly use this. The video is available. Oh, sorry. The video is available on our website. And so you would be able to access it from there along with the other materials that you've been able to access. So feel free to use that. I also would encourage you for your transfer liaison or your faculty that are coming with you on May 18th, also encourage them to share this video with the faculty in their department. We know that there's only one faculty member from each institution joining us. And so, but they probably have faculty in their own department, their home department, who would be interested in doing that as well. So Leonard, I see you had a question that you're hearing several versions of the webinar. Can I do something? I just muted my computer. Does that make it better? Is anybody else having problems with the audio? If you could put that in the question pane or the chat. Okay. Okay, it sounds like maybe that was resolved. Okay, terrific. Well, good. So consider sharing that video with folks on your campus. The group, I wanted to also let you know that there is a lot of folks involved in this work that's happening in the transfer work that we're managing at the Center for Student Success and in the other two associations. So I just wanted to give you a sense of the teams that we're working with. We have a transfer steering committee that includes 15 representatives from public universities, 15 from community colleges, 3 representatives from independent colleges, and 3 representatives from macro. And they're really the group of leadership at institutions that are helping guide this work and make sure we're moving this in the right direction. We have several teams that are informing various different aspects of this work. So we have a group of folks from colleges and universities that are focusing on the MTN replacement. We have a degree pathways team of people that are helping guide this work that we're doing with the MiTransfer pathways. We're bringing together a group of people that are helping to pull together documentation for the MTA. All of the great documentation that's on the macro website, we want to be able to include on the new MTN website. We also have a group of mathematics and statistics faculty who are working together to work with our mathematics pathways work. CMVE is managing a knowledge community around academic credit for military experience. And then we also have a communications team that's helping us with some of this communications work. So we're, because there are so many people involved in this, we want to be able to communicate with folks about what's going on with this project. Moving in, I know we want to talk very specifically today about the work that you'll be doing as a transfer liaison through our MiTransfer pathways. In the video that you saw earlier, we talked about one of the strategies was to develop multi-institutional associate to bachelor's degree transfer pathways. That's a mouthful, so we've also been calling those the MiTransfer pathways. And to be able to explain some of this, we created another video, which I've included here. And I will also put in the chat box again so that you can watch this video, which is about a 4-minute video. I'll give you some time to review that. Okay, I hope you had enough time to review the second video, which was about 4 minutes long. And having done several of these webinars, I know, and I know how challenging it is to show videos. So I also wanted to let you know, if you go out to our website, which is www.mitransfer.net, which was at the end of both of those videos, if you go to the About the Project page, we have links to those videos on that page. So you should be able to find it directly from the MiTransfer.net and go to the About the Project page to be able to review those videos. Similarly, with the last video, this is a good opportunity in just 4 minutes to explain what we're trying to do with this process. You know, we know how challenging this is, how complex this system is. But we're also trying to, you know, create a process where we can bring faculty together and they can identify what those courses are in the first and second year so that students can get an associate degree and a bachelor's degree. So please use those videos with your faculty, and please forward those to folks on your campus who you may think are interested as well. As we continue, I think we wanted to share with you, as I was mentioning a little bit before, you know, in this work, we've been, as you have been working on this when we kicked off the work on the Michigan Transfer Agreement, and then knowing that we wanted to build upon that agreement and build these transfer pathways, we also know that we learned lessons from other transfer work. And so, as the video suggested, we have almost 2,000 articulation agreements in the state of Michigan. And so we want to be able to build on those current agreements. There's a lot of very helpful information out there for students, but we want to be able to do, as the video suggests, make that more efficient, easy to understand, and simpler to navigate. We also want to be able to engage faculty in this process and talking with other states that have done this work, and they've used a similar strategy to bring faculty together. Yet we also know that registrars, admissions officers, of course, people in the mathematics department have a lot to contribute to this conversation. And so we want to include support from those folks. And I would put those transfer liaisons in this category as well, the folks that are here from registrars and admissions offices, and those of you who support faculty in their efforts to improve transfer student outcomes. We wanted to be sure to include those folks in this conversation. The other thing that we've heard from a lot of other states and what stakeholders really want to do is increase direct equivalencies. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we want to increase, when students are looking at how their courses transfer, we want them to be able to see that those courses are directly equivalent when they're transferring to institutions, and reduce general, elective, and departmental credit that students will see when they're transferring courses. And we'll show you how we plan to do that. And then we want to focus on the associate degree, so ensuring that students can earn that associate degree and preparation for upper division coursework. So other states have talked about this being ready for junior level coursework or having junior standing. And so those are some lessons that we've learned from other transfer work and principles that we want to include in this work as well. And so I want to give you a sense of, in a couple of other states, how this really looks like, what this looks like in the end. And so I've provided two examples that I'm going to go through here, one from Minnesota and then another one from Connecticut. And so this is a student-facing agreement that they've created in Minnesota in biology, and they're sharing with students that this is the biology transfer pathway, and the student would earn the Associate of Science degree at Anoka Ramsey Community College. And so as you look through here, you'll see that this transfer pathway transfers to the institutions listed under here in number 1. So it transfers to Bemidji State University, Metropolitan State University with a BA Biology BA, Minnesota State University at Mankato with a Biology BS. So it's telling the students that if you complete this transfer pathway, you'll be able to transfer to any of these designated institutions. They also share with students in number 2 here in red, the courses that the student needs to take, and they outline what those 60 credit hours are. And so, of course, students are taking courses in the biology program, and then they're selecting in their associate degree at least 14 hours of additional math and science courses. And of course, if you do biology transfer advising, you know that most students need to complete more mathematics, chemistry, organic chemistry, and general physics as well. If we move down here towards the bottom in number 3, in Minnesota, they are sharing with students what courses they need to take in the general education. And so this would be their version of the Michigan Transfer Agreement. So they're sharing with students what courses they need to take in there. And then, like a lot of people are doing, they're showing students how those courses are plotted out over 4 semesters. So they're showing students how they can complete that in 4 semesters. And then, of course, they're sharing with students, you know, those degree-specific information or pathway-specific information about residency requirements and the GPA requirements that students would need to complete. So they're sharing this all with students in this one pathway. I'll also share with you an example from Connecticut, and they're doing similar work to what we're doing here in Michigan. And again, they're sharing with people which programs this transfers to and at which university. Very similarly to what they've done in Minnesota, they're showing the semester by semester plan here on the left-hand side, and then they're sharing additional information about the general education requirements on the right-hand side. You'll also notice, which I thought was a really great idea, that they signal to students that they need to begin the transfer application process, and they provide them a link to where they need to go to do that. And they also tell them when they need to start applying for the FAFSA. And so we would be able to include that in information to our students as well. And then lastly, over here on the right-hand side, they provide a link to applying for graduation at the community college. So they're including all of that information in one place. I can say the psychology program in Connecticut is students don't need to apply for admission to the program, but in other programs where they do need to apply for admission, they're also sharing with students links to how and when they need to apply for admission to those programs. So they're providing even more of that information on there. And so this is similarly in Connecticut, they do not have a common course numbering system. And so they're obviously each of these sheets are different for each community college because each community college has a different course numbering system. But they're sharing very simple information with students and how this can transfer to multiple universities in the state. So that's just, we wanted to give you a sense of kind of what this looks like at the end. As many of you know, and we've talked about before, we've identified 4 pathways for phase 1, biological sciences, business administration, criminal justice, and psychology. Those 4 programs were selected by the transfer steering committee that we mentioned before. And those 4 programs are all among the top 10 programs, bachelor's degree programs in the state of Michigan. And those 4 programs represent about 15% of all bachelor's degrees in Michigan. So even though it's only 4 programs, if we look at the about 50,000 students that graduate with a bachelor's degree in Michigan each year, that represents about 15% of those degrees. And then we'll also be launching at least 2 more phases of this work. Hopefully we'll be launching phase 2 in the fall of 2018. But we'll be doing that between 2018 and 2020. And the Transfer Steering Committee this summer will be selecting 4 more programs that will be bringing the faculty together in the same way and engaging with you as transfer liaisons in that work as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie, and she's going to talk through the timeline and some of the more details about our event on May 18th. Katie?
Awesome. Thanks, Erica. Hi, everybody. Hope you enjoyed those videos. We've been working hard on those. As Erica said, sometimes it's nice to have a different medium to spread the message. So hopefully they will be consumable easily amongst the vast network of stakeholders that we know are implicated by this work. You can see on the screen in front of you the timeline that we have projected for this work. And you can see also that we're gearing up for that May 18th summit, which is why we've pulled you all together today to make sure that everybody feels clear about what to do in the interim time between now and then to help prepare your institutional team to be most effective during that summit, both for the goals that you'll make for your institution when you walk away from that summit, but also for our collective progress toward building these statewide agreements. So the goal for that day, and we're going to go over the agenda here in just a moment, so I won't get too far into it, but it's really to have everyone start talking about these issues and try to cultivate a common landscape for all of us in terms of understanding what the data tells us about transfer students, and then trying to better understand all of your different program requirements and how they are or are not aligned for transfer credit throughout the state of Michigan. So we will be demonstrating a number of those things during the meeting, and then of course there will be lots and lots of opportunities for discussion. This really will be an iterative process where we are looking on and really depending on all of your expertise and that of your faculty as well. Once we walk away from that meeting, we expect that we will have a lot of questions and outstanding tasks that will be completed in what we're calling this intermediary work period. We anticipate that that will happen over the summer and the fall months of this year. We recognize that some of your faculty are on 9-month contracts and they may not be around over the summer. And we can certainly make provisions for that as we're working with the institution. That's really where we see you all kind of coming in as the transfer liaison, is knowing that you won't be the end all and the be all for all of the issues that will arise or all of the work that needs to happen in that intermediate period. But if you can help us by being the liaison and understanding when faculty are around or if there are other people that can shed light on those departmental or academic issues that the faculty may not be present for if they are in a 9-month contract, that's one of the things that you'll be able to help us suss out as we move forward. And a lot of that will probably be work done with me. As Erica said, I will be kind of consulting in a technical capacity on this project over the next few years, and I'm really excited about it, really looking forward to it. Some of you know that I get super geeked out about this kind of stuff. I have been studying your curriculum catalogs for the last few months now, and as much as that may sound really boring to other people, it's actually really exciting for me to see the work coming together and all of us moving forward. So we will be working on some of those things where you may need to negotiate course equivalencies between institutions in order to improve that across the state, and then also looking to develop the templates that will actually show, like Erica showed on the previous slides, where your courses would fit into whatever courses are deemed as necessary for this agreement for those first 2 years of the bachelor's. And then of course universities will be submitting what it looks like at the end of that. So when students complete those first 2 years at one of the participating community colleges, what can they expect once they've transferred to the university, and how can they finish that up and be halfway done? You'll notice that I'm being careful not to use the term 2+2. We know that in the community college sector specifically, many of our students are part-time, and it is really false promise to tell them that this is a 2+2 program when very many of them will not indeed be going full-time to complete in 2+2 years. And even many of your students who do go full-time still can't complete in a full 4-year linear pattern. So we're not calling it that. Other states will call similar initiatives 2+2s, but ours, we're sticking to that associate to bachelor's program. Okay, there we go. We're back on the timeline. As we look ahead, we will expect to have another convening for this phase 1 group in the fall. Right now, we're sort of envisioning that the faculty groups will come together separately, that they will probably move at different paces depending on their discipline and what issues are uncovered. So we will probably have those second meetings with the faculty over the months of the fall. And then we will expect that all of you will come together again, potentially even as we get started with phase 2. We still expect this transfer liaison position will be paramount to all of the other phases in this work. And so we are thinking about having everybody come back on, for all the transfer liaisons, come back for another meeting to kind of cover both phase 1 and phase 2 work in the fall. And then over the months following those second convenings for phase 1, we expect to tighten up those document templates and really develop what that agreement that your institutions will be signing to signal your participation will look like. And then we hope to have a nice warm and fuzzy articulation agreement signing ceremony. Many of you on the call are very familiar with these ceremonies. Your institutions do them as well. And we hope to bring as many executive leaders together as we can. Between all of these different pieces of work, we will also be relying on your help to get whatever approvals are needed at your institution to signify your participation. So sometimes that will be the faculty member that is designated in the pathways area, but more often it's probably going to be checking in with department chairs if they're not the ones designated in those pathways, or even chief academic officers and provosts to make sure that what we collectively are determining is working for us does also work for the institution in an official capacity. But we will look forward to and hope to see as many stakeholders involved in that spring ceremony that we hope to be in Lansing. And as Erica likes to say, it's not an accident that we're trying to plan it for the typical time when the state budget comes out so that we can prove the value of this work that is, of course, being funded by the state of Michigan. So that's what the timeline looks like. If we go forward, we can give you a little bit more detail on the immediate next steps. One of the things that has been asked of us is, will we be able to get paid for this work? While we do not have enough money in the state grant to pay everyone for their time and their effort, we do have some funds to be able to allow for travel stipends for all participating individuals. So you all as transfer liaisons will be eligible for $200 per meeting travel stipend. We are recognizing, though, that this is a pathway process, that we have more than just one meeting to attend, so we will not be delivering those stipends until after folks are involved in both of the meetings planned for the spring and then this fall as well. We will have more detail about what will be required for those stipends to share with you all on the May 18th meeting, but we wanted to make you aware now that you can expect to be at least compensated for your travel in that way. Okay, so who's coming on May 18th? A lot of people. There are over 200 individuals that are designated as institutional participants on the list that I'm keeping. They fall into one of those categories you see on the left side of the screen, either faculty members in one of the Phase 1 disciplines, yourselves as transfer liaisons, or several members of our transfer steering committee who are sort of providing that overarching leadership and advice and input to us as we staff the project. They have expressed some interest in coming as well. So we expect those would be the groups of folks that will be attending. And to date, we have received commitments from 28, which is all of our public community colleges, 15, which is all of our public universities, and then 11 of the private and independent colleges that have signed on to participate in the work. So we've had other people asking, can we come? Can we send more than one person? And unfortunately, no. We have some space constraints in the facilities. And in fact, there are not a whole lot of facilities that accommodate both the volume of people and the number of breakout groups that we will be planning for the program agenda. So we are not trying to be rude or keep anyone out of the work, but we really do have to keep it focused on the teams that we've identified from the institutions in those buckets that you see on that left side of the screen. So please understand when we say we can't accept anymore, it's not because we don't want you there, it's because we don't have space for everyone. But we are looking forward to the day. We've been doing a lot of intensive planning, both on steps we recommend that you all take to get ready for the day, but then also on the actual agenda planning. So what can you expect during the May 18th meeting? We are very grateful to MCAN, the Michigan College Access Network, who have given us an innovative programs grant to hire a faculty researcher to help us better understand transfer student outcomes in Michigan. So he will have enough of his work done by the date of this meeting that he will be able to provide an overarching kind of keynote address to folks to help bring everyone else along. We expect and understand that a lot of you on the call, transfer is your work, it's your life. So you know a lot about where the holes are in the pipeline, where the barriers and the opportunities are for transfer students. But we expect that not all faculty members will have the same baseline level of understanding, and we are excited about this faculty members' research and what we can all learn from it. Certainly there will be a more in-depth overview of all of the steps that we've already outlined briefly today, but we will go further in detail to help you all understand what your roles are and the expectations of participating in the project are for your institution. We will be splitting the groups apart. There will be, for the most part actually, we will be together during the day, but there will be several sessions in the afternoon where we have breakouts specifically for the discipline groups, and then separate breakouts for the transfer liaisons, of course, which is all of you, where we will talk more about some of the items that we really want and need your assistance with in terms of assessing credit equivalencies, how we document these agreements, what of the other state examples have you seen that you like, and what policies and procedures must we consider including in that overarching document. And then a topic that we know is critical to this, which is transfer advising, and I'm calling it challenges and opportunities, because I think we do have an opportunity to address challenges, but also to look for those opportunities, those true opportunities that will help us provide better synergy between our sectors and providing multi-institutional transfer advising for students who indicate their interest in transferring. And then of course we have a full section at the end of the day that will detail next steps. And we will have a number of supporting documents and materials to assist with all of these program pieces, including the next steps. We expect you to walk away with a checklist. We hope it will be clear, but we will provide a checklist for those next steps for you as well. And there will be food. It's not on there, but we will be serving some light breakfast, full lunch, and then hopefully some snacks in the afternoon as well. So some people have wondered, what is the role of the transfer liaison? We've been harping on the role of faculty, and then you know, it's easy to understand how faculty, or why faculty are important to developing credit equivalencies and aligning program requirements in their disciplines. But we know that what you all do is extremely critical to the success of transfer students in Michigan as well. I already alluded to this, but faculty members certainly have their own part to play, but many times they're not as keen on the really detailed technical rules and procedures that transfer students must consider as they're navigating the transfer pathway. Some of you on the phone are already thinking of those things: the residency requirements, prerequisite issues, or what you'll see in a moment, issues with credit equivalencies or general elective application of credit that students are continually confused about. We also recognize and appreciate that you all will probably be the best cadre of individuals to help us with that documentation, because many of you are in roles that already do that kind of work as you work to develop or maintain single articulation agreements between community colleges and universities that you partner with or work at. And then, of course, we've already alluded to this, but we really do need one single liaison to talk with if the institution has a problem or if there are questions or concerns as we move along. And so we expect that you all will sort of help us find the right people to fill in those gaps or make sure that work continues to progress as we move along. I know I talk fast, and I do want to make sure that there aren't any questions so far that I need to address.
Nope, not yet, but if people do have questions, please enter that in the chat pane. Thanks.
Super, and thanks for hanging in with us. We're almost done here. Okay. Next slide. All right, this is where things start to get a little funky for you all. And when I said that we've been reading course catalogs, I'm serious. We have been doing some intensive work since day one. Once we developed the set of pathways that we were going to look at for phase one, we began to analyze what the program requirements are at the four-year universities who offer degrees in this area. I'm realizing that this particular grid does not yet include the independent colleges, but we will also be including course equivalency data when it's available for the independent colleges and universities that are participating as well. What you're looking at on the screen right now shows you the general psychology course, which is required in every single psych program in the state of Michigan. So up at the top, you see all of the universities' names, and then beneath that, you can see which course is designated at that university as general psych or psych 101. As you can see, a number of them are enumerated, but of course not all, because we do not use common course numbering. And then down the column on the left, you see all of the community colleges and the corresponding course in their catalog that looks to fulfill that same general psych requirement. And this one, the reason we showed you this one is because it looks kind of nice, and there's a lot of coverage. Many colleges and many universities already have, in fact, the majority of them have already developed direct equivalencies for this particular course, which looks good, sounds good, right? But that's one single course, and that does not make up a transfer pathway. So you can see there are a couple of different colors. The green is why I'm saying it looks good and things are in good shape, because those are established direct equivalencies. On this particular grid, you only see two other colors. You see orange, which is next on the legend, and there's one example of that where U of M Dearborn is offering credit for a Gogebic Community College course, but it is not the credit that we would expect. We were expecting that Psych 101, and it ends up being this Psych 171. So that's something that, you know, we are curious about, and we wanted to demark separately so that we could bring people's attention to that. Then there are no yellows on this particular course, but there are on lots of the others, and that's the gen credit, or the any sort of strange enumeration that would not be a direct course equivalent, but would say like a 2XX at the end, or gen cred. Literally, some of your institutions just say gen cred. Sometimes they say PSY, TR, psych transfer, and those will be highlighted in yellow when those examples occur. The white grid means that there is no information in the MTN about this particular course. There are certain institutions who do not complete any course uploads or data uploads to the MTN, so there is no information available. And then there are sometimes just single courses that do not have that data. So Erica has just highlighted an example from Kalamazoo Community College and Ferris State University. My assumption is that these two institutions simply never got together and decided on a single course equivalency, but you never know. There could be some academic drama going on that is prohibiting that transfer. But probably what's happening most of the time is that this is a geographic thing where the community college is so far away, or their students just simply do not end up at that transfer destination as often as they do other destinations, so it had not been a priority to develop that course equivalency. But that remains to be seen, and we are very excited and interested to kind of hear or see what's happening once we get people together and talking about this. Our intention, we have done this, as I said, for about 5 or 6 courses in each one of the 4 phase 1 pathways. We are not trying to suggest that these are the courses that should be considered in the statewide transfer pathway. However, we have to start somewhere, and it is of our opinion that we've done enough analysis to be able to say that this covers, particularly this particular course of general psych, covers enough of the participating institutions that it would be what we call that low-hanging fruit, where there shouldn't be too much extra work to be sure that this is a course that's included, and certainly makes sense because it's usually a foundational or framework course for these students. So again, we've done this for 5 or 6 classes in each one of the pathways. So many of them are more colorful than this. And your role is actually going to be to help us affirm and validate that our data is correct. So a couple things that have been tricky about doing this is that some of you know, not everyone has the most up-to-date information in the MTN. So what I expect is that some of our information will be wrong simply because of that, because those institutions perhaps did not update their course equivalency data in a timely enough manner that it's showing correct or current course equivalencies. We will also probably see some issues with catalog changes. You guys change your course numbers quite a lot. And the current MTN does not allow us to cut old courses out. And those of you on the call are very familiar probably with the MTN as it stands. So you know that and you're not surprised by that. But we expect that those are some of the issues that we will need your help sussing out. So our goal is to complete the course sheets that we've developed for psychology and business and begin to send them to you for some validation at the institutional level next week. And then we will continue to work on the same sheets for criminal justice and biological sciences. And we'll give you a little bit of lag time because it's a lot of work and it's pretty tedious. But then we will send those additional sheets to you for that kind of validation. Erica, before we move on, is there anything further that you would like to say about the matrices?
Thanks, Katie. I think you gave a really terrific overview of those. I would just add that in our work, we see these as the opportunity, you know, this is kind of a foundation of a really strong transfer agreement across the state when those courses are equivalent between institutions. Like Katie said, this is just our first pass at, these are the courses that appeared to be very common in other articulation agreements that colleges and universities have with each other. So we selected these courses, but once the faculty identify the courses that they think that students should take in the first 2 years, right away we'll go ahead and create one of these matrices for each one of those courses. So immediately after the meeting on May 18th, we'll get to work on that process. As Katie said, right now we're using the MTN for this data. Colleges and universities are still required to post data to the MTN at least every 6 months. And so, at least according to the state budget requirements. And so that's where we're pulling this information from. But the reason that we're reaching out to you is because you know, things happen. Like what's really important to us is that these are right, that these are reflecting the information that will be useful to the faculty when they're talking about what courses should students take in the first 2 years. And so we'll be reaching out to you. If you can just look through your community college and looking horizontally to see, yep, this is what we would expect. And if you're a university, also looking to see that this is what you would expect. That will really help us to make sure that we have updated information about this.
Awesome, thanks. And like she said, this is part of the pre-work, because what we will eventually put these in front of the faculty at the May 18th meeting, and we really think it's going to inform their dialogue. But again, we want to give the institutions the opportunity to respond, because as much as I would like to believe that my work in my little bat cave where I read all the catalogs is accurate and concise, we understand that things happen, like Erica said. So again, kind of pausing to look for questions, but why don't we just go ahead and knock the rest of these slides out, and then we can take whatever questions you all have at that time. So the next steps are certainly to go ahead and register for the summit if you haven't done that already. We are up to almost 100 registrations, which is not the 200 and some that I'm expecting. So we do need people to actually go out and register for the summit so that we can collect logistical information and share some details with folks about that as well. We are asking you all to assemble some materials. We've asked both you all, the transfer liaisons, as well as the faculty groups, to pull together some things that we think will be useful to you to have on hand. We are encouraging folks, if they can, to bring some type of device or laptop or iPad or whatever to be able to access those digital materials. I know a lot of people still like to use paper products, so if you want to bring anything printed, you're welcome to do that, but it's probably because of the volume of information that we're looking for, it's probably going to be easier if you have a laptop or a tablet or can use a smartphone to be able to review some of these things. Specifically, what we're looking for from you all is information about transfer policies. So Erica describes that we have already begun to review articulation agreements that you all already have on in these pathways, but we think it will be important for you to have access to them while you're talking through some of the issues that come up and while we're looking to develop those common set of courses in that first 2 years. We have requested that you all, as the transfer liaisons, try to pull your team together. This will be more difficult on some campuses than others, I'm sure. If you don't have the opportunity for a physical in-person meeting, which is what we recommend highly, certainly putting together a call or some kind of virtual meeting is advisable as well. We just think it's going to be important that you have the chance to talk with one another before you come to this day, because there's going to be a lot to consume. And we really think it will be most productive for individual participants if they've already thought about some of this, and particularly if you've already had the chance to talk through certain institutional priorities before you come day of ready to participate actively. We have maintained a number of project materials that we've put up onto the website. You each received personalized letters that sort of detail what materials we've recommended for you to take a look at. You guys got a separate set from what the faculty members got, but we did also link out to what we provided for all of the faculty members. And the materials for the faculty are really all the same, except where they were specific examples in the discipline. So we did provide some other state examples of these agreements for faculty to take a look at. And then we also are asking you all, as you know, that number 6 there on the next steps is going to be to watch for communication from us about these course equivalency matrices. Right now, these are Google Docs, which I don't know if our intention is to keep them that way or send them to you in a different medium, but they've made it easier for us to kind of share and look at the grids together. So again, Erica, I'll ask if there's anything further that you would like to hit on before we move to the next slide.
Katie, we just had a question come in if there is a way to find out if our faculty members have registered for the workshop. I think the way to do that would be to contact Katie directly because she has access to the registration list. And we will make sure that I think her email address, she just put her email address in the chat chain.
Yeah.
Girodella@mcca.org.
You might need to copy and paste it. It's not letting me communicate with the whole group. And I don't believe that my email is in the slide deck, but yes, I'm maintaining the registration, so I'd be happy to tell you if your faculty have registered yet.
Great, so I just sent that out to everybody. Thanks.
Awesome, yep. Okay, perfect. I think the last slide is next. Let's see. Indeed. So we already, Erica already described to you the team of us at the associations that are working on this project. The folks listed there are your point people for each one of your, we call them sectors. So for each one of your sectors, if you're a community college person, it's Erica. For your public university, it's Will. And then for your private or independent college or university, it would be Colby. I will say that Colby is anticipating parental leave coming up soon. So Shannon Price, who's on the call with us, will be the contact at My2. And certainly you'll probably all be in touch with me at some point, because I'm going to be doing a lot of the behind the scenes work for all of the involved institutions, regardless of sector, as we move the project forward. So what else? What else does anyone want to mention, or what questions do people want to put into the box? Is this what you were expecting? Is this is any of this a surprise?
So another question we had is it possible for members of the steering committee to have access to the information that you're sharing with liaisons and the faculty? And so I will go ahead and navigate out to, if I can, navigate out to our website. Discard. I'll navigate out to our website at, Katie, can you still see my screen?
Yep, we're going with you to our website.
Great. So if you go out to MiTransfer.net and you click on project materials, all of the information that we're sharing with people is public. And so you can click on information for transfer liaisons, and you'll see on here all of the information that we've shared with the transfer liaisons. If we go back and go to faculty information, and you click on each of these tabs here for each of the programs, and you click on Welcome Biology Faculty, you'll see the information that we shared with the biology faculty as well. So we're trying to make everything public that we share with folks, with the exception of, we're not making public the list of people who are coming. Just that kind of information can get scraped off a website really easily, and we just don't want all those people to get spammed with email. So, but yes, all of this information is available on MiTransfer.net.
Awesome. And I know,
and then Matt, sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
Matt from GRCC asked, are the student-facing examples that we saw from Minnesota and Connecticut on the MiTransfer website? Also, were those examples extracted from institutions' respective catalogs? I think I saw Connecticut, but not Minnesota. So yes, Matt, good question. Thank you very much. Again, in the materials that we provided to the faculty, you should be able to see down here reviewing examples from other states, and those are on there.
I don't have the Minnesota. The Minnesota examples are not on here. We did not select the Minnesota example, I don't think. So if I can add them, or you all can.
Oh, terrific.
Literally, yeah, or you can navigate out to the state website, because they are actually kept on a centralized website in all of those states, even though they are connected to the catalogs, which you described in Matt's question. And we expect ours will be, because you all are going to be submitting the courses at your institution that will fulfill the agreement that we, kind of the overarching agreement that we agree upon. We also hope then that your examples that are student facing will be connected to your catalog. I hope that that makes sense.
Right, yeah. Well, good, thank you for these great questions. We have a couple of minutes left, and while we're seeing if other questions come in, I just kind of want to mention in closing that I want to thank all of you for coming along in this process with us. Michigan is a unique state, and we have designed this project to honor the decentralized nature of our state, but also being very clear in keeping priorities in mind that the Transfer Steering Committee has identified that we want to make this process more efficient, and we want it to be easier to understand and simpler to navigate for students. So our North Star when we're thinking about all of this is the student experience. However, easier said than done. This is really complex work, really challenging work, and we appreciate that you're willing to come along with us on this. in some ways in some really experimental practices. I have an opportunity to work with folks from across the country that are part of student success centers across the nation. And I can tell you that people are watching Michigan. They're very interested to see how we're doing this work, especially because this is very voluntary and people can come together. So I appreciate that you all are willing to go along with us on this. And I don't think there are any more questions. And so with that, I think we will end the webinar. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to us either today or anytime over the next month before we see you on May 18th. So with that, I thank you very much. Thanks, Katie.
Yep, bye y'all.